Hi everyone, welcome again to my channel. If you are joining me for the first time, my YouTube channel is Chapters with Moyo. I love to tell stories based on real life events, and today I will be sharing a story from the Bible. I know we might have been hearing about Ahithophel. Sometimes we even hear it in our churches where people will say this prayer point. God will frustrate the counsel of Ahithophel. Today I'm going to tell a story about Ahithophel. In all Israel, there was not a man so highly praised for his handsomeness like Absalom. Absalom, the son of David. Whenever he cut the hair of his head, he used to cut his hair once a year because it became too heavy for him. So he would wait, and its weight was, then they call it 200 shekels by the royal standard. So this Absalom, son of David, had 3 sons and a daughter. His daughter's name was Tamar. The Bible says she was a very beautiful woman. Absalom lived 2 years in Jerusalem without seeing his father, the king's face. Then Absalom sent for Joab in order to send him to the king, but Joab refused to come to him. So he sent a second time, but he refused to come. Then he said to his servants, "Look, Joab's field is next to mine. Go and set it on fire." So Absalom's servant set the field on fire. Then Joab came to Absalom's house, and he said to him, "Why have your servant set my field on fire?" Absalom said to Joab, "Look, I sent word to you and said, 'Come, so that I can send you to the king to ask, why have I come from Geshur? It would be better for me if I were still there.'" Now let's talk of Absalom's conspiracy. In the course of time, Absalom provided himself with a chariot and horses and with 50 men to run ahead of him. He would get up early and stand by the side of the road leading to the city gate. Whenever anyone came with a complaint to be placed before King David for a decision, Absalom would call out to such a person and ask, "What town are you from?" Then the person will answer, "Your servant is from one of the tribes of Israel." Then Absalom will say to him, "Look, your claims are valid and proper, but there is no representative of the king to hear you." And Absalom will also say, "If only I were appointed judge in the land, then everyone who has a complaint or case would come to me, and I will see that they receive justice." Also, whenever anyone approached Absalom and bowed down to greet him, Absalom will carry them up and kiss them on the cheek. So Absalom behaved in this way toward all the Israelites who came to the king asking for justice. So he stole the hearts of the people of Israel. At the end of 4 years, Absalom said to the king David, "Let me go to Hebron and fulfill the vow that I made to the Lord. While your servant," he was calling himself a servant, "was living at Geshur in Haram, I made this vow: if the Lord takes me back to Jerusalem, I will worship the Lord in Hebron." The king said to him, "Go in peace." So he went to Hebron. Absalom sent secret messengers throughout the tribes of Israel to say, "As soon as you hear the trumpet, then say, 'Absalom is king in Hebron.'" 200 men from Jerusalem had accompanied Absalom to Hebron. They had been invited as guests and went quite innocently, knowing nothing about the matter. So while Absalom was offering sacrifices, he also sent for a man called Ahithophel, David's counselor. Ahithophel was David's counselor, to come from Gilo, that was his hometown. And so the conspiracy gained strength, and Absalom's following kept on increasing. A messenger came and told David, "The heart of the people of Israel are with Absalom." Then David said to all his officials who were with him in Jerusalem, "Say, come, we must flee, or none of us will escape from Absalom. We must leave immediately, or he will quickly move to overtake us and bring ruin on us." So the king's officials answered him, "Your servants are ready to do whatever you, King David, our Lord the king, chooses." The king set out with his entire household following him, but he left some people behind, some of his concubines, to take care of the palace. So the king set out with all the people following him, and they waited at the edge of the city, and all his men marched past him, along with all the Kerethites and Pelethites and all the 600 Gittites who had accompanied him from Gath. They marched in front of the king. The king said to Ittai, "Why should you even come along with us? Go back and stay with King Absalom. You are a foreigner, an exile from your homeland. You came only yesterday, and today shall I make you wander about with us? When I don't even know where I'm going, go back and take your people with you. May the Lord show you kindness and faithfulness." But Ittai replied to the king, "As surely as the Lord lives, and as the Lord the king lives, wherever you go, I will follow." David said to Ittai, "Go ahead, march on." So Ittai marched on with all his men and the families that were with him. The whole country started to weep aloud as the people passed by. The king also crossed the Kidron Valley, and all the people moved on toward the wilderness. There was a man called Zadok. He was there too, and all the Levites who were with him were carrying the ark of the covenant of God. Then the king said to Zadok, "Take the ark of God back into the city. If I find favor in the Lord's eyes, he will bring me back and let me see it and his dwelling place again. But if he says I'm not pleased with you, then I'm ready. Let him do whatever seems good to him." But David continued up the Mount of Olives. He was weeping as he went. His head was covered and he was barefoot. All the people with him covered their heads too and were weeping as they went. Now David had been told, Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom, his son. So David prayed, "Lord, turn Ahithophel's counsel into foolishness." When David arrived at the summit where people used to worship God, Hushai was there to meet him. His robe was torn and put us on his head. So David said to him, "If you go with me, you'll be a burden to him. But if you return to the city and say to Absalom, 'Your Majesty, I will be your servant. I was your father's servant in the past, but now I will be your servant,' then you can help me by frustrating Ahithophel's advice." So he asked, "Won't the priests Zadok and Abiathar be there with you? Tell them anything you hear in the king's palace. Their two sons, Ahimaaz, son of Zadok, and Jonathan, son of Abiathar, are there with them. Send them to me with anything that you hear." So Hushai, David's confidence now, arrived at Jerusalem as Absalom was entering the city. Absalom said to Ahithophel, "Give us your advice. What should we do?" Ahithophel answered, "Sleep with your father's concubines, whom he left to take care of the palace. Then all Israel will hear that you have made yourself obnoxious to your father, and the hands of everyone with you will be more resolute." So, do you know what they answered him? They pitched a tent for Absalom on the roof, and he slept with his father's concubines in the sight of all the Israelites. Now, in those days, the advice Ahithophel gave was like that of one who never fails. That was how both David and Absalom regarded all of Ahithophel's advice. Ahithophel said to Absalom, "I will choose 12,000 men and set out tonight in pursuit of David. I will attack him while he is weary and weak. I will strike him with terror, and then all the people with him will flee. I will strike down only the king and bring all the people back to you. The death of the man you seek will mean the return of all. All the people will be unharmed. I will kill only David." This plan seemed good to Absalom and to all the elders of Israel. But Absalom said, "Summon also Hushai so we can hear him what he has to say as well." When Hushai came to him, Absalom said, "Ahithophel has given this advice. Should we do what Ahithophel says? If not, give us your opinion." Hushai replied to Absalom, "The advice Absalom has given is not good this time. You know your father and his men, they are fighters, and they are fierce as a wild bear. Besides, your father is an experienced fighter. He will not spend the night with the troops. Even now, he's hidden in a cave or some other place. If he should attack your troops first, whoever hears about it will say there has been a slaughter among the troops who follow Absalom. then even the bravest soldier, whose heart is like the heart of a lion, will melt with fear. For the whole of Israel, they know that your father is a fighter and that those that are with him are brave. So I advise you, let all Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, as numerous as the sand of the seashore, be gathered to you, with you yourself leading them into battle. Then we will attack him wherever he may be found, and we will fall on him. Jonathan and Ahimaaz were staying at En-Rogel. A female servant was to go and inform them, and they were to go and tell King David, for they could not risk being seen entering the city. But a young man saw them and told Absalom. So the two of them left at once and went to the house of a man in Banon. He had a well in his courtyard, and they climbed down into it. His wife took a covering and spread it over the opening of that well and scattered grain over it. No one knew anything about it. When Absalom's men came to the woman at the house, they asked, "Where are Ahimaaz and Jonathan?" The woman answered them, "They crossed over the brook." The men searched but found no one, so they returned to Jerusalem. After they had gone, the two climbed out of the well and went to inform King David. They said to him, "Set out and cross the river at once. Ahithophel has advised such and such against you." So David and all the people with him set out and crossed the Jordan. By daybreak, no one was left who had not crossed the Jordan. When Ahithophel saw that his advice had not been followed, he saddled his donkey and set out for his house in his hometown. He put his house in order and then hanged himself. So he died and was buried in his father's tomb. David mustered the men who were with him and appointed over them commanders. The king commanded Joab, Abishai, and Ittai, "Be gentle with the young man Absalom for my sake." And all the troops heard the king giving orders concerning Absalom to each of the commanders. David's army marched out of the city to fight Israel, and the battle took place in the forest of Ephraim. There, Israel's troops were routed by David's men, and the casualties there were great. 20,000 men died with the sword. Now, Absalom happened to meet David's men. He was riding his mule, and as the mule went under the thick branches of a large oak, Absalom's hair got caught in the tree. He was left hanging in mid-air, while the mule he was riding kept on going. When one of the men saw what had happened, he told Joab, "I just saw Absalom hanging in an oak tree." Joab said to the man who had told him this, "What? You saw him? Why didn't you strike him to the ground right there? Then I would have had to give you 10 shekels of silver and a warrior's belt." But the man replied, "Even if 1,000 shekels were weighed out into my hands, I will not lay a hand on the king's son." In our hearing, the king commanded Joab, Abishai, and Ittai, "Protect the young man Absalom for my sake." Joab said, "I'm not going to wait like this for you." So he took 3 javelins in his hand and plunged them into Absalom's heart while Absalom was still alive in the oak tree. And that was how Absalom died. In fact, aside from Ahithophel giving a counsel which was even supposed to be a good counsel, but God made sure that that counsel was frustrated so that David will not lose that battle, and the throne will not be taken away from him that way and given to Absalom. So that's the Ahithophel story. I'm sure in every story in life there are lessons, because this really happened. Can you share in the comment section anything, lesson that comes to mind? Share, and we would all like to read. Please be polite in your comments and like and share. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I would also like to know which other story from the Bible would you like me to share with you. Keep winning. Bye for now.